Hey YouTube, it's Erin, and I am the Handbag Housewife, and I'm back again with another video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about eBay and how to protect yourself because things have changed, and I actually got sold a counterfeit bag. So that story is to follow. First, I wanted to remind you that I have this beautiful Marc Jacobs, the sack bag that I've used once, for sale for $325 if you're interested. I don't think you'll find a better price on this beauty anywhere else. I always have my contact information down in the description box. You can reach me by email or through Instagram. I accept Zelle or Venmo friends and family, or I would do Cash App too if that's the way you prefer to go. Now, if you've watched my recent videos, you would have known that I had that bag for sale as well as my New Wave chain bag in the Rose Ballerine. And that bag did sell yesterday and it is on its way to its new home as we speak. I was delighted to be able to sell that to a fellow YouTuber and subscriber, and she has actually purchased from me before, so that gives me peace of mind and it gives her peace of mind as well. Speaking of peace of mind, sometimes I choose to sell to Fashionphile or other platforms because of that very reason. Sometimes it's worth taking a bigger loss on items and selling it to Fashionphile or another source, like I mentioned, just so that I don't have to deal with shipping the item and having someone on the other end perhaps not be happy with the item or try to scam me. I have been scammed before. It is not a fun thing. And so I did submit the New Wave chain bag to Fashionphile, like I mentioned, and the offer was pretty low, as is typical for Fashionphile, but I was considering it. And the reason I was considering it is because they had a baby Nikki bag by Saint Laurent in the storm gray with the dark silver hardware for a price that was roughly $1,000 off retail. And I figured if I take a loss on the New Wave chain bag, but I'm getting a great value in this other bag, then it is all a wash or pretty close to it. I received some pictures though of that bag and it had more wear than I was comfortable with, so the search continued. And I found a baby Nikki in the vintage black crinkled leather with the dark silver hardware for, again, a price that I was very comfortable with. And so I figured, okay, I can either sell this New Wave chain bag to Fashionphile in a couple weeks for the price that they quoted for cash, or I can sell it to a lovely subscriber. I figured I had some time, so why not just wait it out a little bit? And I went ahead and purchased the bag on eBay. Shortly thereafter, I found out that the bag was being shipped directly to me, which was a surprise because I thought that when you purchased a bag that was a luxury handbag that was over $500, that it went to their authenticity center before it came to you, or to me in this case. And the fact that the label was USPS as opposed to, I think they use either FedEx or UPS, I'm pretty sure it's FedEx, to ship items to the authentication center. The fact that it was USPS sort of tipped me off. So I immediately reached out to the seller and said, hold that thought, please do not actually drop the item off because I thought this item was going through eBay authentication. And the seller, who had never sold a luxury handbag before on eBay, was not certain of what was supposed to happen. And so she started reaching out to eBay. And by the way, that's why I was comfortable buying this bag from her, because I thought it was going through eBay authentication. She had only ever sold things like light bulbs and makeup and just kind of odds and ends that weren't a super high dollar amount on eBay. And I probably never would have purchased a luxury handbag from her if I had realized that it would not go through the authentication center. That said, it does still qualify, as I think pretty much all items do, for the eBay money back guarantee. So she started reaching out to eBay to find out why this bag wasn't going through their authentication program, and I did the same. And I got a call from eBay. I went through several pathways and was able to get a live person on the phone. And they told me that the reason why this bag was not going through eBay authentication is because the seller had not selected that option when they did the listing. So this is news to me because I didn't think it was an option. Now, when they started doing authentications at their authentication centers, I think it was initially offered as a free service. And so maybe we reached the end of that free trial and now it's time that the sellers have to pay, which means that the buyers have to pay. And I'm okay with that. I really wish that there was a drop-down option for us as the buyer to select that we wanted it to go through the authentication center for an extra $20 or $40 or whatever it might be. But that wasn't an option. And so it comes down to the seller themselves having to select that as an option and work it into their price at the point of the listing. And some sellers don't want to pay that, or they might just want to try to sell a counterfeit bag. While this conversation was going on between us, I decided to go ahead and submit photos of the item to Authenticate First because I knew I could get the item authenticated really quickly for $20 with Authenticate First. I also really like legit Grails, especially for Louis Vuitton bags with microchips, but I decided to go with Authenticate First because generally, even if you don't pay for the quick turnaround, they get back to you really fast. And so that's the route I chose this time around. Authenticate First did get back to me really fast, but it was to request additional photographs. And so I contacted the seller on eBay. Within a few hours, I had those additional photographs. I sent them to Authenticate First. And then they proceeded to take way longer than they usually do. And I have found that in cases where they take way longer than they usually do, most often it is not good news. And that is what happened this time. I sent them a few messages to check the status of things, and they told me that they had submitted the photographs to their Saint Laurent expert there on site. And so I was glad to know they had somebody that actually specialized in Saint Laurent there. And then it took until the next day to get the result that the item was in fact counterfeit. At that point, I submitted a screenshot from Authenticate First to the seller on eBay, and she immediately refunded my money. She has 100% positive feedback for the items that she has sold, and I don't think she knew that the item was counterfeit. She told me it was a gift, and so I think that she believed that the gift was authentic, but she also didn't dot her I's and cross her T's and make sure before she listed it on eBay. And that's why we as the buyers have to protect ourselves, and why I wanted to let you know that eBay is not as safe as it used to be. eBay, whenever they authenticated everything over $500, was one of the safest places, in my opinion, to buy luxury handbags, because they authenticated these handbags in person with experts that they had on staff. And in many cases, when you're buying pre-loved, you're getting your items authenticated through photography, not through hands-on authentication where you can feel the leather and you can see the hardware with your eyeballs as opposed to a photograph. So luckily for me, I paid the $20, so I'm out $20, and I got a refund almost immediately from eBay once I let the seller know that the item was counterfeit. And I am checking her profile to see if she relists it, but she didn't relist it the day that this all happened. And so I felt like that was a pretty good sign that she did not know that the item was counterfeit, because if she had known, I would think that she would relist it really quickly. Now for me, there was one thing about the bag that seemed a little bit off, and that was the pocket on the inside. Saint Laurent is really good about getting everything all lined up, unlike Louis Vuitton sometimes, but generally the quilting is really lined up very nicely. And the pocket on her particular bag looked like it was off when you opened it up, because the lines of the bag itself didn't look like they were lined up with the pocket on the inside. And I asked her about that, and I asked her for more photos, and she took them and told me she thought it was because of how the bag had been in the box with the stuffing. And I analyzed the pictures, and I was pretty sure that she was right. But there was something about that pocket that was a little off to me. And I didn't digest that until after the fact, when I went and looked at the pictures I had gotten from Fashion File of the other baby Nikki. And when I looked at those pictures, the pocket looked a little bigger to me. And so that possibly could have been one of the things that tipped off the authenticator. But the authenticator did not share with me what it was or which combination of things made them determine that the item was not authentic. And I don't think that they would, even if I asked them. The reason being is that that would make it easier for counterfeiters to fix those problems, and we don't want that. So my observation as a layperson probably doesn't matter so much, but we don't want our professional authenticators necessarily sharing all the defects in the super fakes so that the people who are making those super fakes can make them even better. So that is my tale of woe about buying a counterfeit bag on eBay. It was the easiest purchase and refund experience I could hope for. I mean, it was probably even easier than having the item shipped to the authenticator and deemed counterfeit there, because then my refund would have taken a week as opposed to only taking a day. And so I'm super happy that I submitted the photos to Authenticate First and got it clarified before the bag was ever shipped to me. Because if I would have known that the bag was counterfeit and it was shipped to me, then I would have had to deal with the stress of it being in transit and then receiving it and then doing the whole return process, which I would have been able to return it with eBay's money back guarantee. But then I would have had to wait for it to get back, and who knows what they would say when they received it. Would they say that I sent them the bag back or sent something else back? And so having it taken care of before it left to the seller's hand was definitely the way to go. So if you're going to purchase from somebody and they haven't selected the eBay authenticity guarantee, then I would recommend you get the item authenticated before it is shipped to you, and definitely check the feedback on that seller. I wouldn't have purchased from this seller because she didn't have any feedback relating to luxury goods, but there are some out there who will probably select to not have their items shipped to the authenticity center so that they can keep their prices down. And if that's the case, I would recommend paying the $20 before you ever buy the item so that you know that it's authentic before it reaches you. And then once it reaches you, make sure that the numbers on the inside of the bag match up to those photographs that you submitted for authentication beforehand. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If it has, please give me a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, what are you waiting for? Do it and ring the notification bell so that you are notified of future exciting content such as this. Also, go find me on Instagram. The name there's the same. It's the @, then the Handbag Housewife, all lowercase. You can DM me there, or you can email me at thehandbaghousewife@gmail.com. If I don't hear from you, I will see you again real soon. Take care and have a fabulous day. Bye.